What do you do when the whole point of your goal falls through? Welcome to part 9 of the Tummy to Tuck series. This episode is The Pivot. I'm Travis Wright-Colopy, the Executive Director of Fit Enabled Productions, and today we're going to talk about what do you do when the whole point behind the goal you've been working so hard for has just completely disappeared. And this could be for any reason. For me personally, though, just to share a little bit more, if you're not local to the Triangle in North Carolina, then this might not mean much to you. But if you are, you might know that this year, 2021, Cary, North Carolina was celebrating its 150th anniversary. And for the past 3 years, I've been on a committee to help plan all the festivities and celebrations for that. Well, obviously, a lot of that didn't happen due to the pandemic. But one of the things that was supposed to help kick us off on New Year's Eve 2020 was a black tie gala to do the Celebrate Cary 150. Well, that obviously got postponed to November, and so 8 weeks ago I started the series to get ready so I could fit in my tux and look great for the gala when it had been scheduled for this coming November. Well, like a lot of things still going on right now, a week ago, that event was canceled by the town of Cary for pandemic-related reasons. And it's not going to happen. Maybe it'll get postponed again to 2022. But by that point, really, what is the point? And now it's like, well, what am I going to do with what I've done so far? Now that I don't have this party coming up to put on a tux. Well, I got a couple options. I can just stop and say, well, that was fun and not have to worry about it anymore. I can maintain the course and just have a fun night hanging out in my tux at home, or I can kind of pivot it a little bit and either set a different timeline to get in shape. Maybe I don't have to push it so hard for that original deadline, or I can just, kind of tweak something else or find something new to go get dressed up for. All decent options. So I think some are better than others. For example, I think maintaining the goal to a certain degree to keep getting in shape for the future is better than just stopping and going back to the couch and losing all the progress I have made. But enough about me. This is an issue that all of us can face at some time, and we know has been faced by a lot of people at all different levels. We all know that life has a way of throwing a lot of surprises our way, and we got to decide how we're going to react to those. And it doesn't matter how far you are along in your goal progression or what level of goal you're going towards. You could just be a starter, trying to go walk your first mile, and you find that you can't find your shoes. Well, that's a problem you got to figure out. You could also be at the top of your game and look at the Olympians who had to contend with whether or not they were going to be going to the Olympics this year, or a lot of the Olympians in past decades when certain countries were boycotting the Olympics for one reason or another and denied their athletes the ability to go compete for something they had been training for 4 years. So wherever you are at in your progress, or whatever level you are, you have a decision to make. Do you treat this new thing that's been thrown up in your way as an obstacle, or is it an opportunity? And depending on your mindset and how you like to look at things, either one is a good answer. If you are one who likes to really overcome obstacles, say you had a competition coming up, like the Marine Corps Marathon, which also just got canceled a week or so ago, then your obstacle is finding a new marathon to get into last minute. Perhaps they have a different qualifier, whatever it might be. And your obstacle is to find a new race roughly around the same time so that you can still compete and test yourself against the marathon distance. Or if you prefer looking at things as an opportunity, then basically the world's your oyster, and you say, well, I made a lot of progress working towards this goal. Maybe it was something I didn't want in the end, or there's this other thing now that I see I can probably do now that I want to start working towards that sooner than finishing off this first goal and then starting on that, and I can just go after that right now and take advantage of that new opportunity immediately. That's a great option as well. But whether you want to view it as an obstacle or an opportunity that the whole point behind your goal has just completely evaporated, the main point is that you want to view it as still a path forward, something that you want to pursue and keep going. You do not want just stop and be done. If you stop now, you're going to lose all that momentum, and it'll be really hard for you to get back on your goal progress. Say if it does come up again in the future, you're going to have to start all over again. Plus, it'll be hard for you to get going on another goal if you just stop cold now and then give it a few weeks or months and then decide on something new to pursue at that time. If you decide to stop today, it sort of gets you back into that mentality before of where you're sort of the person who quits and you get that feeling that you can never actually work hard enough to achieve your goal. And you just get into that cycle of disappointment, which is really hard to escape and really, really makes it hard to get going again in the future. So just to use myself with my own example of the black tie carry 150 gala being canceled and what am I going to do now, I'm going to just walk through a few of the key decision points that you can think of for trying to decide what you want to do. But again, you're trying to decide what your path forward is. Imagine yourself at a fork in the road with multiple options, and you need to decide which path you're going to take, but all the paths will lead you forward just in a somewhat slightly different direction. You're not going to be the person who decides just to sit down at the fork or turn around and head back the way you came. So the first question is, do I want to continue on this progression of getting in better shape so that I can fit in my tux and look great in it? This is an easy one, obviously. Yes. There are many benefits to getting in shape beyond just looking good in a tux. I can look good in gym shorts and a t-shirt too if I get in better shape. Or I just generally feel better. I can more energy, more alert, more on the go throughout the day, and just generally being in a better state of life if I do the work to get in shape and enjoy all the benefits of that health and wellness. The second question then is, do I want to still use fitting in my tux as the measuring stick for achieving the goal? Well, there's nothing wrong with it. I might not be going to a fancy party, in a few weeks where I will be wearing that tux, but I can certainly still try it on at home. And if it fits better and I think it looks great in the mirror, then yeah, that's a pretty good indicator that I did what I needed to do to get in shape, get in the tux, and look great, even if it's only myself enjoying the view in the mirror. But there still might be an opportunity later this year where I can still put on the tux and look good at the party. Who knows what the future holds? Obviously, if this one party that I was planning for could get canceled, there might be another one that crops up last minute that will be fun to go to. I did just recently rejoin a social club that I had been a member of before the pandemic, and they're pretty well known for putting on some pretty sweet, fancy parties. And so there could be an opportunity to get all fancy in the future, put on the tux, and have a great time. And if that party does crop up, I want to make sure I am prepared and in the shape for it so I don't have to worry about it. It's like, you know what? I'm already in the shape I had wanted to be to put this thing on. I'm ready to go. Let's suit up and enjoy the fun evening. Another potential question is whether or not another party may or may not pop up. If I still want to make the progression towards the goal, maybe do I want to keep on the same timeline if I don't have that hard deadline of the Carry 150 Gala waiting for me? I could extend the deadline to perhaps, the end of the year. Like by New Year's Eve, I want to be in a good enough shape because who knows, maybe New Year's Eve something fun pops up. But what this will allow me to do is I can keep maintaining that forward progress, but maybe I don't have to put so much pressure on myself to get it done in that shorter time frame. I can give myself, at that point, if I extend it from November 13th, which if you remember is the original deadline date, to December 31st, that's roughly an extra 6 weeks or so that I can continue doing the work, but I don't have to push so hard in the meantime. I can make it a more slow and steady progress, which those of you who know your Aesop fables, wins the race, and then not have to deal with really pushing hard and potentially bouncing back after that initial deadline. That's an option too. And probably one that is more sustainable long term, where I give myself some more time, maybe even get a little more further along in the health and weight loss and getting in shape too with that extra time. But the main point is really, now that the original deadline has kind of evaporated, or at least the weight behind that deadline, what I need to do is give myself a new deadline to be working towards. Because as you Remember, when we set the goal, having a defined deadline is part of having a goal and making a commitment to that goal that really works. You can't just have this nebulous, oh, I want to get in shape by whenever. That's kind of where you start falling apart and you ultimately get nothing done. And it's also kind of part with your plan. Your plan that you have developed and that we've talked about extensively in previous episodes requires you to have a deadline that it's like, this is the plan that leads up to this point. And if you do the work for this plan, by this point, you'll have achieved what you want to achieve. Well, if that specific point you're working towards really isn't there, or the real weight behind it isn't there anymore, you might need to adjust. You could obviously just continue to work and that's your deadline and then you reach it and you're done. But without having that real weight behind it, like, well, yeah, I don't really have this priority anymore, that could kind of kill your drive to keep moving and doing the hard work. So creating a new deadline for yourself, whatever that might be, then or in the future, or finding a new reason why that date is so important, is a good thing to have. And actually probably really vital to maintaining your progress and achieving your goal ultimately. And the final question is, well, man, we're 8 or 9 weeks into this process. I've made a lot of good progress. I've come a long way. I'm in a different shape, a different mindset, just a different place in life entirely from where I was a couple months ago. Now that my initial goal doesn't really exist anymore, or the deadline for it and the purpose behind it doesn't really exist anymore, maybe there's something else out there that I'm in a better position for. If I'm already in this good shape, maybe I can find a new goal to start working on. If I'm already going to be setting a new hard deadline for myself and readjusting my plan to fit that new deadline, because now that's something that's more important and something more concrete that I can work around than just going along with the date I had set originally. Well, maybe there's a newer, bigger goal that I can make fit that new time period that I can work towards, and where I'm not really starting from scratch. I'm already two-thirds the way there, and I can just extend it. Maybe if we had talked about having a primary goal and then a stretch goal in earlier episodes. Well, maybe you're in a good place now that if you set a new deadline a little further out, that you can now achieve your stretch goal in a reasonable way as well. You're really just looking at what other things you can do now that you're making a few changes already. What other bigger changes could you make that will keep you on a meaningful path forward? Really, whatever you do, so long as you are moving forward, is good. It's all about how you react to the situation. And now that you've seen how in your first attempt to achieve this goal, something came up that could have potentially thrown you off, you can understand that even if you readjust your plan, set a new goal, find like a new race or a new event to be getting ready for, that something easily could pop up there and disrupt that progression as well. And now you'll be more prepared for it. Like, it won't throw you off as much when that happens. You'll just say, yeah, it's part of the process, and you have your little template for what you do when that happens. You just sit down, start walking yourself through these questions again, figure out what your game plan is, make the adjustment. Maybe it's a course correction. Maybe that goal's done too, and you got to find something new. But so long as you're not just going to stand in place or move backwards, you have the means now to continue to make your forward progress. And if you continue to set really good, progressively better goals, you could find yourself that, give yourself whatever time period, months, years, by the end of your life, you may never have actually ever achieved any of the goals you set for yourself in a very concrete way. But you were always making great strides towards them, and then something comes up and it changes course and you set a new goal and you start making progress towards that, and something, things kind of get in the way, or your interests change and you change course again, and you kind of have this, it looks like a zigzag progression, but you never actually make it all the way to the finish line for one of those goals, but you keep getting better, just generally moving your way up the ladder of, mastery of skills or health and wellness or relationships, jobs, whatever it might be that you're working on. Even though you're not achieving one of those goals and then starting like a new one right after it, you're still making great progress towards whatever the end point of the field you're working in. So things coming up and just kind of disrupting your plan and making the goal you're working towards just disappear, this could be a good problem to have, because we've all seen some of those people who they set this goal, they work really hard for it, and they achieve it, and then they're just done. They don't set the next one or the one after that. The stereotype is, the guy who was like the star quarterback in high school and he won that state championship, and well, life essentially ended for him there, and that's all you hear about, well until he's old and still talking about the glory days of high school. It's like, dude, what'd you do for the 60 years, in between? And it's like nothing for him. He peaked and was done. And you don't want to be that person. Or the people who set like the health and wellness goals, like I'm going to lose, 50 pounds and run a half marathon. And well, they do that and it's awesome. Congratulations to them. But as soon as they cross that finish line or they hit that number on the scale, they're done. And they feel the joy of having accomplished that, but then they start to lapse. They have that psychological pleasure of achieving the goal, and then they just start sliding back and getting into whatever they were doing before that required them to set that goal and do the hard work in the first place. And again, you don't want to be that person. So sometimes not achieving a goal in a very specific, concrete way isn't the worst, so long as there's something else out there that your attention towards too, and you start working for. Anyway, well, it's disappointing that the Black Tie Gala I had been looking forward to now for a few years, because again, we started talking about this on this committee in 2018. We got really close to it, and it's not going to happen. Disappointing, but it's not the end of the world. There'll be plenty of other opportunities to look great in a tux. Maybe I'll create my own. We'll just have like a little cocktail party at home. Everyone just gets dressed up and hangs out, and that'll be a fun time too. And it'll be, if that's all it is, it'll be completely worth having done the work and gotten in shape to look great in a tux, even if I'm just lounging on a couch surrounded by friends and family also decked out. It'll be a good time, and the work will definitely have been worth it. And the same goes for whatever goal you're working towards. If something comes up, it's not the end of the world. Just adjust, adapt, and overcome, and just keep moving. And that's all you can really do no matter what situation you're in. Just don't stop. Anyway, the other question is, well, now that the whole thing I've been working for is gone, what's going to happen to the series? I'm going to continue the series. It's been fun. We got a few episodes left, and I fully intend to finish those out anyway, because part of this whole progression is not just getting in shape to wear a tux, but also to complete this 12-part video series and do something fun with this as well. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, please like it, share it, comment below, hit the subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on future episodes. Part 10 will be coming next week, same time, same place. And as always, if you think there's someone in your life, whether a friend or a family member who could benefit from this, please share the video with them or the entire series so that they can get going on the progression towards their own goal. And as always, thank you for racing with Fit and Able.